So, welcome today. Now, today on Discover Your Voice, I'm going to be talking to the lovely Kathy. Kathy's going to tell you who she is and what she does. So please tell us about your business.
Well, my business is called Your Net Worth Manager. And basically what I do is I stop people worrying about their money. And I've been in this business for 30 years. And I know I don't look old enough for that, but I have. I've been doing this 30 years. And I realized kind of early on that this is not people's favorite subject. Money is a bit like going to the dentist. You know, we usually do it when we have to. And actually, the average family spends more time planning their vacation than they do their whole future, the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And there's obviously number of reasons for that. It could be there's some ostriches out there. They're just sticking their head in the sand.
Yeah.
There's some people who are scared. They don't know.
Yeah.
So my job really is to help take some time out and say, what is it do we want? And what's the quickest, least painful, most fun, interesting kind of way of getting there. So that's actually what I do. That's what my business does for clients. And technically I'm known as a fee-for-service financial planner. And what that means is I don't sell things. People come and they see me. And, I could say it's like going to see your accountant or your lawyer, but I kind of hope it's more fun than that.
Well,
because and they pay for the advice. They pay for what I know. I'm not paid for selling them something. They know that they can ask me a question and they get a genuine answer that's good for them.
You
family,
obviously really solve problems that people have.
Yes. Yeah. It's it comes back to why. Why do you want this? What do you want? When do you want it? What's important to your family? And everyone is different. And I think that that's something that happens a lot in financial services, is that it's very cookie cutter. You're in this life stage or in that life stage. And they assume that you should want or you'd be doing the same thing. And it's just not like that. We're all individuals. So it's figuring out, to this family at this point, that's what's important. And to this family right now, this is what's important or what they're worrying about. Because I've seen life, I counted once, I think more than 5,000 clients over the years.
Yeah.
And so you see people live life well, you see people struggle, you see people cope with death, divorce, birth. So I think there's a lot of inherent wisdom that comes with that, how to help people live their lives well.
Okay, because your byline is on your website, working exclusively for you and your best interests. And I assume, because I'm going to say, what does that mean for people? But you've sort of explained that idea that it's...
I think that what happens a lot in financial services is that every plan is really a secret way to sell you something. If you ever found that you go in the bank or you go to see, I started off, I left school and worked with Barclays and Prudential, and we moved to Canada in 2004, and it's all the same kind of companies, but often every plan miraculously ends in one of their products.
Yeah.
Isn't that a surprise? Well, they're not registered charities. They have to make a profit.
Yeah.
Their businesses are there, most of them, to make money for shareholders.
Yeah.
So I kind of say to clients, instead of working with someone who represents a company whose job is to make profit for the shareholders, I work for you, and my job is to make you wealthy. Now, of course, wealth depends on what people want. To someone, that could just be getting their cash flow in order so they can work less hours.
Yeah.
For someone else, wealth could be not worrying about what would happen to their family if they weren't here. For someone else, it's building up literally their wealth so that they can stop work and do the things that they want to at the age they want to. So, but that's kind of my point, is that people can trust what you tell them. And years ago, I don't think it's just my industry. This has happened in when we used to buy a car, we would go in the car showroom and kind of get sold something.
Yeah.
And here it's very agricultural. We have lots of John Deere dealerships and New Holland dealerships, tractor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
boys. and, and the guys there that I deal with tell me that people used to come in and they'd say, this is what you need. And now people come in and say, I've looked it up on the internet, and it is. So people are becoming more proactive. I think that kind of my ideal client is someone who wants some control. They want to know, they don't want to be told, but they're not going to sit down and do it all themselves.
Got you.
They want a co-pilot. They want someone to say, this is your choices, this is where you can go. And sometimes they just want a kick in the pants to make sure they actually do.
Well, you have a really, really impressive bio. Honestly, listeners, this lady has, go to her website and check it out. So you really, really know your stuff. I often say to people, know your stuff, you know your stuff. So how easy do you find it telling people what you do?
It's actually really hard because what I do is different.
Yeah.
I think, but people often end up coming to me because they're unhappy with what's happened to them in the past.
Yeah.
That's nice because then I can say, well, I'm different and I can solve your problems and I won't do that to you.
Yeah.
But, like you said, I know my stuff, and so I like doing exams. I like, I consider myself a financial detective.
I love that.
So sometimes I say money ninja as well. I'm a money ninja.
I love it.
But
you could be the money magician.
Yes, I like that one. And but if you're kind of a technical person, then I think sometimes you default like how easy it is to tell someone what you do. Then my default is have a structure.
Yeah.
So we do discovery, education, implementation, reviews. We do cash flow, debt, disaster management, short-term, long-term savings. And to me, that structure is safety. Mm-hmm. But actually, I find that really all clients want to know is how you're going to solve a problem.
Oh, absolutely.
And what would this feel like? Trying to help them imagine what it would be like to work with me. And be approachable and not be intimidating. Make sure that people can feel in control and not like they're being told what they should do with their lives. It's their lives, it's their money, and I just give ideas and say, this is your options. So I think that it is really hard. I find it hard to explain what I do. And when I started doing this, there was about 5 of us in Canada. Like, seriously, there's about 50 now. But there's 80,000 people who work for banks and insurance companies. And so everyone kind of knows that model. And it's trying to show, the reason I do this is because that doesn't work for most people. It's not really what they want.
No.
And therefore I do it. And so I'm different. So if your question is, how hard is it? I do find it hard, but I think one of the best things you can do is ask clients questions and say, what do you want?
And I think that's
what's worrying you.
Yeah. Yeah, because you talk a lot about identifying their problem. And I've always said to people, if you can identify the problem, people are going to listen to you.
Yes. And I do I do ask for testimonials, and I have 30 or 50 really nice testimonials, and generally they're along the lines of, Kathy listens to us, she made a difference, I feel so much less worried, and that's not, my average client is 50 to 65.
Yeah.
But the other day, one of their children, she's 25, she said to me, I'm so far ahead of my friends. She said, when I look around and I see what my friends are doing, and I can only credit that to mum and dad making me talk to you. And really, you can't ask for more than that, can you? When a 25-year-old says that.
Yeah.
So one thing I do need to get better at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do more technical stuff, and I think that, but most of money is actually about behaviour, and it's how you feel about things, and it's our bad habits.
I was going to say, you do more than just the finance stuff in a way. It's almost like you're relieving people's burdens and their stress and their worry about being able to just live the life they want to live through, sorting their finances out.
So I have a client who's actually, he teaches people to drive. So in Canada, they call that driver's ed.
Oh, right.
You hear my Canadian accent. And he says that if we taught people to drive like we don't teach people to handle their money, there would be carnage on the roads. And, and yet we kind of somehow as grown-ups think we should know this. But we don't talk about it. It's embarrassing. We might discuss house prices, something like that. But we don't
discuss money.
No. Sometimes I say to people, especially being British, we hug our horses and kiss our dogs, but don't ever ask me about money.
That's just not dinner table talk. So tell me how you felt the very first time you had to actually stand up and tell people what you did, when you had to speak.
So it's actually when I was about 25, so it's a way back now. And I'd done team meetings at the time. I was running a sales team for Prudential, and that was kind of fun because people and you sat around the table, and suddenly I found myself heading up the recruitment drive. They were trying to get more women to work for the company. So there I am, 25, and the venue was actually like a university. So the room was an auditorium, and me at the bottom, and all these seats going up, and there's 160 people. And I stood there, and I just felt like jelly, and it was kind of a bit overwhelming, really. And I thought, and we didn't have a mic. There was no mic.
No.
So I had to, and it actually, because of the way the room was, it was a proper kind of auditorium voice carry. But that was the first time in emphasis. And so that was the first time that I ever had to do that.
Yeah.
And it was really nerve-wracking. I don't think I slept the night before.
So how did you manage those nerves? Because you must have been really sort of scared and nervous before you went on. How did you manage it?
So I think I'm a classic over-preparer. Never be too prepared. Never. And I knew my subject. I knew what I wanted to say. I knew at the end of the day, this was at least the message. This must be got across. So even if I went off attack, this was the core that had to be.
Yay!
That's the right answer, is it?
That's the message. Knew her stuff.
And just I think though that what I also had to try and think was that these people were there because they chose to be there. And they were actually probably as nervous as me because they were all like at a recruitment thing. So they were all on their best behaviour. So no one was going to throw tomatoes or tea bags.
An endorsement, people, of what I keep saying. They're not there to kill you.
No, they're grown-ups. They're there from their own choice. They're kind of hoping to learn, something. And but I think also it's not a bad thing to be human. Like to be too perfect sometimes then makes you seem like a robot. So and because the subject was careers in financial services, and I wanted people to see it more as a caring profession, not as a sales profession, that I did have my script, but I also just tried to say, like, this is what it means to me, this is what it means to my clients, this is what it's done for my family.
You made it
and
personal.
Then when you put a bit of you into it, then people actually go, oh, okay, she's a real person. Not a slideshow.
Definitely not a slideshow.
But we did question. Because you might as well be a whiteboard video, really, mightn't you? If it's going to be too perfect.
Just put the slides a hand out.
Just introduce it and play a video. I think I had the 1 o'clock slot as well. I think in the morning they've done psychometric tests, and then they had lunch, and then they came to listen to me. So I'm probably lucky they weren't all falling asleep. But be prepared, practice. Don't worry about it. Really.
Absolutely. See, it's always about practice. Know your stuff. You can never over practice. And remember, they're not going to hurt you. Now, we're in a whole new age now. I mean, back in my day, and I'm pretty sure that's probably even further back than yours, you know, and it was all about standing in front of people. We do video and webinar and this sort of thing now. And when we chatted earlier, you said, you know, you do this sort of work a lot. How have you found doing video and webinar?
So I find that if it's live, it's more stressful.
Yeah.
But most of my live ones are actually talking to people I know, so that's fine.
Yeah.
I know my subject. I actually prefer it to telephone.
Yeah.
Because you can see people's faces.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm asking people questions they've never been asked before. And so you do need to actually shut up and let them answer.
Yes.
So it's good to know that they're sitting there thinking or they're making notes. Some people write things down. They haven't kind of wandered off or, you know, just lost interest or they're looking confused.
Yeah, Facebook.
They're feeding the dog.
Yeah, I'm listening, really.
I did once, actually. I've got one client who's quite hyperactive, and while I was talking to him, he was upholstering a chair. But his wife was making notes, so that was fine.
I love it. I love that.
And I'm sure I've heard people make a cup of tea.
Well, I love that they've taken it all in. I think that's wonderful.
But I haven't really tried. I haven't really tried webinars. I'd like to do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
More like record a message and put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, webinars are slightly different to video, and I'm always saying to people, you know, you need to understand which platform to use for which message you're giving. But
yeah,
that's a whole other story, people. So, what would be your advice or anything to women who hate the idea of speaking in public? There's a lot of them.
Most of them, I should think. Yeah.
And men, really, actually.
Yeah, anyone. It's not fun. I think that sometimes, even with my clients, I say, come back to why. If you remember why you're doing this, what your motivation is, then it helps you push through that pain barrier. So be clear about, why am I doing this? You know, is it self-development? But why am I doing that?
Yeah.
You know, how will it benefit my business, myself, or how's it going to benefit the people I'm talking to? And then prepare, you know, rehearse. I think, you know, you could like do a Google Hangout or use this kind of software with a friend.
Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid to talk to the mirror or talk to the dog, you know, and, you know, but also something I was told a long time ago, probably 20 years ago, by someone, and she was a really good regional manager we had. And I just remember her saying to me, people don't know what you are going to say.
Yeah.
So they don't actually know if you've gone a little bit wrong.
Of course they don't.
So as long as you get from A to B, if you go around the houses a bit, it doesn't entirely matter.
I know.
So you kind of get really hung up about, I had to do this in this order and cover this, and you know, and if you actually were to just cut yourself a bit of slack and say, you know, A to B, and I'm going to do it in a fun way. You know, and maybe, you know, you could allow people to ask questions along the way, because then when you do questions at the end, it's deathly quiet, and I just
never do them at the end. Do it before
you know, then, that's it. And then you've realised that because the questions they asked, there was something you didn't cover.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you did, like, feel free to interrupt, and then even if you don't want to answer the question, I write it on a flip chart.
Yeah.
And say, I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So maybe some interaction, you know, not 29 PowerPoint slides, you know, bulleted, you know, kind of be a bit more flexible, allow people to ask some questions, and just practice and just be human, and don't worry if it's not perfect, because really they're all probably just sitting there thinking, I'm glad it's not me up there.
Yeah. No, don't say that. And I think that's, like you said before, it's about not being perfect. It's about being yourself and whatever works for you. I often say to people, I mean, I never learn, because then I get stressed that I'm going to forget. So I work with a structure. So like you, I know the message I'm going to give, and I've got my structure. And I've always said to people, make sure it's just how you want to do it, and it's you, and don't try to be anyone else. So that's your tip, ladies. So finally, and I've got to ask you this question. Now, you say if we have personal trainers for our body, we should have them for financial planning. So, do you have a personal trainer?
Well, I have tried that in the past, and I can't honestly say it worked. It's so boring. But because I'm a techie, I like structure and I like, the one thing I did find worked was, I don't know if you have them in England, but it's called Curves. There's a gym called Curves, and they have all these machines, and they beep at you. And and if you're not going fast enough, it goes red, and you have to go faster, and that kind of thing. But so I like that. Kind of like, but we live on an acreage, so we have horses, and we have chickens and pigs and dogs and cats and all this. And so I don't have a personal trainer, but I do have a riding coach, and I've had her for about 8 years. And basically, you know, what she does is she makes me focus. You know, when you work for yourself, sometimes it's too easy to never turn off. So, you know, she turns up the agreed time on a Wednesday morning, and phones are off, and we just do horses, and we have a laugh. So she makes me focus. She kind of keeps me safe. She helps me get over my bad habits. Otherwise, you wreck your horse. You know, if your horse has been trained really well, and you keep doing things wrong, you wreck their training. So in some ways, I guess that's all the things I do for my clients. Really, you know, you make them focus. You help them with their bad habits and keep them safe. So maybe not a personal trainer, but my riding training. Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah, riding a horse. Thank you very much for your personal finances. Get them.
Do you know, I always
trained.
When the going gets tough, you put your heels down and you sit in the.
Okay.
Hang on. I'm very lucky. We live in a nice place. Yeah.
Okay, so Kathy from Canada, so it's morning for you at the moment, so you know, Kathy's got a day ahead of her. Just tell us then how anyone can get a hold of you if they want to work with you or they want to just chat to you. So
most people email, and so that's my email is k@yournwm.ca.
Okay.
Maybe you can put a link up for me.
I will definitely put a link in.
Some people go into my website, and then there's a contact me. And I do have clients all over the world, Australia, Canada, England, across Canada, America. You know, some tax rules and things are a bit different, but people are the same wherever we are. It's
the joy of the internet. We can work anywhere. So I'm going to say thank you so much for giving up your time for us and getting up this morning to talk to us. It's always difficult, isn't it, the time exchange, one that works for both. So thank you very much, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Hang on a minute.